भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So today we will be reading from 10th canto, chapter 27, entitled Indra and Surabhi Offer Prayers. Text number 5. Kuto nu tadhe tava isha tatkrita. Kuto nu tadhe tava isha tatkrita. लोभादयो ए अबुधलिंग भावः। लोभादयो ए अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। कुतो नु तद्धे तव ईश तत्कृता। लोभादयो ये अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। तत्कृता लोभादयो ये अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। कुतो नु तद्धे तव ईश तत्कृता। लोभादयो ये अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। कुतो नु तद्धे तव ईश तत्कृता। लोभादयो ये अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। कुतो नु तद्धे तव ईश तत्कृता। भादयो ये अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय। Mothers, कुतो नु तद्धे तव ईश तत्कृता। लोभादयो ये अबुधलिंग भावः। तथापि दंडम भगवान बिभर्ति। धर्मस्य गुप्तै खल निग्रहाय. Word to word meaning. Kutah, how, nu, Certainly, tat, of that, existence of the material body, hetavaha, the cause, Isha, the O Lord, tat kritaha, produced by one's conception with the material body, lobha adaya, greed and so forth, ye, which, abuddha, of an ignorant person, linga bhavaha, symptoms, tathapi, nevertheless, dandam, punishment, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bibharti, wields, dharmasya, of principles of religion, Guptai, for the protection, Khala, of wicked persons, Nigrahaya, for the chastisement. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. How, then, could there exist in you the symptoms of an ignorant person, such as greed, lust, anger, and envy, which are produced by one's previous involvement in material existence and which cause one to become further entangled in material existence? And yet, as the Supreme Lord, you impose punishment to protect religious principles and curb down the wicked. Purport. This complex philosophical statement by Indra may be analyzed as follows. In the first line of this verse, Indra refers to the main idea expressed at the end of the previous verse, namely that the great currents of material existence, which are based on ignorance, cannot possibly exist within the Supreme Lord. The words tad dhetavaha and tat krita indicate that something causes the modes of nature to manifest and that they in turn become the cause of that which caused them. In the second line of this verse, we find that it is material feelings such as greed, lust, envy, and anger that cause the modes of nature to manifest, and that are themselves caused by the modes of nature. The explanation of this seeming paradox is as follows. When the conditioned soul decides to associate with the material qualities, he becomes contaminated by these qualities. As stated in Gita 13.22, Karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmasu. For example, in the presence of a seductive woman, a man may give in to his lower instincts and try to enjoy sex with her. By his deciding to associate with the lower qualities of nature, those qualities manifest in him very powerfully. He is overwhelmed with lust and driven to try again and again to satisfy his burning desire. Because his mind has been infected by lust, and all that he does, thinks, and speaks will be influenced by his strong attachment to sex. In other words, by choosing to associate with lusty qualities of nature, he has caused them to powerfully manifest within himself, and eventually those lusty qualities themselves will cause him to accept another material body suitable for affairs governed by those qualities. The lower qualities such as lust, greed, anger, and envy are abhuda linga bhavaha, symptoms of ignorance. Indeed, as indicated by Srila Sridhar Swami in his commentary, the manifestation of the modes of nature is synonymous with the manifestation of a particular material body. It is clearly explained throughout the Vedic literature that the conditioned soul receives a particular body, gives it up, and then accepts another simply because of his involvement with the modes of nature. Karanam guna sangasya. Thus to say that one is participating in the modes of nature is to say that one is accepting particular type of bodies suitable for the particular material qualities one's involved with. An ignorant bystander might have simplistically interpreted Krishna's pastime of lifting Govardhan hill as follows. The residents of Vrindavan were obliged by the Vedic principles to make certain offerings to the god of heaven, Indra. Child Krishna, ignoring the position of Indra, served these offerings and took them for his own pleasure. When Indra tried to punish Krishna and his associates, the Lord frustrated Indra's attempt, humiliated him, and exhausted his pride and resources. But this superficial interpretation is refuted in this verse. Here, Lord Indra addresses Sri Krishna as Bhagavan, indicating that he is not an ordinary child but in fact God. Therefore, Krishna's punishing Indra was part of his mission of protecting religious principles and curbing down the envious. It is not it was not a display of material anger or of greed for offering meant for Indra. Sri Krishna is pure spiritual existence, and his simple sublime desire is to engage all living beings in the perfect blissful life of Krishna consciousness. Krishna's desire to make us Krishna conscious is not egotistical, since ultimately Krishna is everything and Krishna consciousness is objectively the best consciousness. Lord Indra is really the humble servant of Krishna, a fact he has now beginning to remember. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalokaya Chakshudinmilitamyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I'll just repeat the translation. How then could there exist in you the symptoms of an ignorant person, such as greed, lust, anger, and envy, which are produced by one's previous involvement in material existence and which cause one to become further entangled in material existence? And yet, as the Supreme Lord, you impose punishment to protect religious principles and curb down the wicked. In other words, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that actually Indra is asking three questions here. First, that, O Lord, if you have no desire to accept the modes of nature, how do their effects such as greed and anger appear within you? Second question, how could you stop my worship without the influence of the modes of nature? Third, and without showing greed and anger, how could you punish the wicked to protect the principles of religion? Now, in the previous verse, the Lord is being addressed as Vishuddha Sattvam. Vishuddha Sattvam means one who is beyond the gunas. Is Vishuddha Sattvam. He is beyond the gunas. And he is full of Sat, Chit and Ananda. That means Vishuddha Sattvam. And he is also addressed as Shantam. Dhama Shantam. Dham means his very form is Shantam. Shantam means undisturbed. What it means undisturbed? How does one get disturbed? One gets disturbed when he's influenced by passion and ignorance. Because passion is creation and ignorance is destruction. So whenever there is too much of creation, destruction, and there is so much of changes, one gets automatically disturbed. So the Lord is addressed here as Shantam, undisturbed, because he is free from passion and ignorance. And he is also said as Guna Sampravaha, na vidyate. Na vidyate, it's not found. What is not found? Guna Sampravaha, the pravaha of the gunas. Sampravaha, the great pravaha, the great flow of the gunas is not found in the Lord. So in this way we understand that the Lord has been already addressed as a personality being transcendental. What it means to be transcendental? Something which is beyond the modes of nature. So in Bhagavad Gita 3.37, it is mentioned Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha. How this lust is born? This lust is born due to passion. And when this lust is not satisfied, then anger develops. And anger is born through ignorance. So when the jiva who is the part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when this Jiva, which also has a very, very minute independence of his own, so this independence is given to him by the Lord himself because he's the part of the Lord. Lord is the supreme independent Swarat. He also possesses this quality of independence, but it's very, very minute. And when he wants to misuse this independence, when he sees the Lord enjoying, and he wants to misuse this independence by thinking, by envying the Lord, thinking that I also want to independently act like that, then very that very feeling of misusing that independence brings about a transformation of his service attitude into propensity for sense enjoyment. So now he come, because there in that world it's not possible for him with that attitude to be. So he is being sent, but the Lord is very merciful. Just like we have our finger. If the finger wants to exist separate from us, it's not possible. It's just not possible. But the Lord, being very, very merciful, because we are His part and parcels, we are His children, He is very merciful to us, and He wants to correct our that attitude. So he sends us in this material world. He creates this world. He sends us in this material world just so as to uh, make us understand this point that, okay, you try it out. You try it out to be separate of me and enjoy independent of me. You try that out. So we come to this material world and we get influenced by the modes of nature. And then there is, because of the mode of passion, there's so many different desires which come up in our heart. And that lust is that, that strong feeling to satisfy different desires, which is born out of passion. And when that lust gets fulfilled, then it develops into more and more greed to more and more enjoy those different desires. And when it is not fulfilled, then we develop anger, which is born out of ignorance. So like that, there is always this pushings of passion and ignorance on us, because of which we, karanam guna sangasya sadasad yoni janmasu, that every time we associate with these modes of nature, with these lower modes of passion and ignorance, that sadasad yoni janmasu, every time that you have to then take a new body. Every time, sometimes good, sometimes bad, according to different desires, according to different actions which we perform, sometimes in a higher planet, sometimes in a lower planet, sometimes a better body, sometimes animal body, different species, are because of those association with different modes. So these modes are the very cause of our different bodies, and those bodies and different situations are provided to us to fulfill our own lust, and that itself will cause again the influence of of the modes, and because of which further again then different bodies, different species. So this is how it continues. The Lord says, what is the solution? Mam chayo abhyacharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samatitaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalkata. So the solution is, when one engages in his devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, then only can he transcend these modes of nature. So unfailing in all circumstances means that every time a new circumstances is born, every time a new body is given, it's a new opportunity for different desires to play on. So every time these different desires come up, it's like different tests for us. It's like different situations for us. So if we, unfailing means we do not succumb to those pressures of the modes of nature. It means that we try to maintain our attitude of service towards the Lord and His devotees. Then only can we transcend ourselves from these modes of nature. But that's not so easy. It's very easy here to, the shloka is like very straightforward, but it's not really that easy. Jai Shri Shri Radharas Bihari ki, Jai Lalita Vishaka Saki ki, Jai Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jai Shri La Prabhupada ki, Jai. So it appears very easy like that, but to transcend the modes of nature, but really it's not that easy, because it's been time immemorial that we have been associated with these modes of nature, and being associated with modes of nature, what we have done is all that what we have filled us, or what our very existence is of lust and greed and anger, full of mode of passion and ignorance. So it's not going to be that easy, to just give up that mode, the influence of the modes of nature. It's not going to be that easy. But then the acharyas have given us a very, they have told us that yes, it is possible when you spiritualize your lust and anger. How do you spiritualize your lust and anger? You spiritualize your lust by desiring only for Krishna's pleasure. You spiritualize your anger by directing that anger towards the miscreants. In this way, if you spiritualize your lust and anger, it becomes very easy to transcend the modes of nature, because by this way we will get the mercy of the Lord, and by which it will be easier for us to transcend the modes. Otherwise, yes, it's not that easy. And the problem, now what is the problem with this lust, anger and greed which we have? The problem is that when we have this lust, anger and greed, and when we see Krishna, uh, we generally, because we have an exploitative mentality, because of that exploitative mentality, we are going to misinterpret the Lord's actions. Just like, for example, like suppose in Damodar Leela, one may see the Lord's action as if he is a very lusty person. He is lusty for the milk of Mother Yashoda, and he has so much of greed to drink it more and more, that when the Mother Yashoda immediately kept him down and went to save that milk which is boiling over the stove, he immediately got angry and showed his tantrums, and he broke that pot, and the whole Leela further continued. So one may say, how greedy, how lusty he is. Like, he goes, there are 9 lakh cows. There is special Padmagandha cows inside house of the Nanda Maharaj. What is the shortage for him? But still, can you imagine, still he goes to different houses, and he wants to steal. Lord Balram is saying, that Are, I don't want to get involved into, your party of stealing because, our reputation is at stake. But then still the Lord says, okay, you want to go, you go, but still I'll continue like that. So why the Lord wants to steal? What is that? What is it that? Because by such actions, ordinary person filled with lust, anger, and greed will see those qualities of thievery in mode of passion and ignorance. Uh, like here, it may appear like Indra says, like it appears as if you were greedy, you were greedy, you were envious of my being the enjoyer of the worship. You wanted that worship, that's why you did all that. So it appears like that, but it's not so, because the Lord is actually transcendental. Satyavrata Muni says, at the end of the whole pastime which he narrates, he says that what is actually he trying to do? It appears like those acts are driven by mode of passion and ignorance, but actually what is he trying to do? He is trying to actually drown the entire Vrajavasis into the ocean or pool of bliss. That is what he is actually trying to do. Iti driksvalila bir ananda kunde. He is trying to actually drown the inhabitants of Vrindavan into the pool of ecstasy. That is what actually he wants to do. What actually makes the Lord, who is like a conditioned soul, he is driven by the modes of nature. But one who is completely out of these modes of nature, what actually the Lord, who is Swarat, who is complete in his self, who is self-satisfied Atmaram, for such a supreme personality of Godhead, what is that driving force that makes him do what he's doing, which an ordinary person thinks it's mode of passion and ignorance? So that driving force is nothing but the the very the very desire of his to give pleasure to his devotees. Iti diksva leela bir ananda kunde. That is what actually motivates him. That is what actually makes him do all these activities which appear to be influence of mode of passion and ignorance. So actually, when we see something bad, actually it's one way, it's our own faults within. It's like a mirror in front of us. We see that bad in others. Actually, the problem is that point is that bad is something within us. That what we see in others. But a pure devotee, his heart, his heart is just like it's just like gold which is purified by 100 flames. What it means by gold purified in 100 flames, just like gold, when the metal gold, when it needs to be purified, it has to go through this test. It's burnt at a very high degree, and all those impurities within the gold come up on the surface, and it's removed from gold. And again and again, again and again, again and again, he has to go through this purification method through those. So the pure devotee's heart is just like that, gone through, it's like a gold through 100 flames. Again and again, again and again, we are tested by Maya. Again and again, we have to go through the test of purification, because we are supposed to rid ourselves from false ego. Why we need to be free from false ego? Because it's that false ego, unless we are free from false ego, will never be devoid of that tendency to enjoy this material world. The tendency to enjoy this material world is because of that false ego. So the whole purification is just to eradicate that false ego of ours, and thus free ourselves from that exploitative mentality of ours, of this material nature. And only then can we enter Vrindavan. Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti is that quality of a pure Vaishnava. It's that quality, it's that ability by which you can actually enter Golok Vrindavan. That is what is needed. So that is why all these kind of purifications are required. Not those kind of tests and assessments which are done in this material world, those tests and assessments which we go to our schools and colleges. That's completely, they just have to go on writing. They used to teach us in our school days, jada se jada likhne ka, you fill up the paper, you go on writing your answers, fill it nicely, and then bahut zyada likh gaya to acha marks milega. But the teacher who is correcting, she never goes through it completely, and she just want to somehow finish her, 1 rupee she gets on that correcting one paper. Why she is bothering on that? So such kind of test and assessment is going on in this material world. So this is not what the test and assessment is talked about here. Actually, the test and assessment is actually meant for the student to understand where he lacks in his understanding of the particular subject, and the teacher also is helped by to like increase her style of teaching, to better her style of teaching the same subject. That is what actually meant by test and assessment. But here in this material world, Maya, she is also giving us lot of tests. She is also assessing us again and again. Krishna herself sends his Maya to assess us, that assess this devotee, this aspirant devotee, because I want to know where he surrenders finally. Does he surrender to you, or does he want to surrender to me? That is what actually we go through the different tests, when we go through this different test, because she wants to actually help us in understanding where do we lack, where is our weaknesses. Because only when we know our weaknesses, only then we will think of the solutions to overcome those weaknesses. And those solutions are found in the Shastras. So we need to read, we need to hear the Shastra. That is why all these classes are there. Why these such philosophical classes are there? So that scrutinizingly we understand where our weaknesses lie, and how can we find our solutions to our problems. How can we actually purify our existence? That is why all these classes are there. So again and again, again and again, we need to understand where our flaw is. So then only our purification will happen. And in the Shastras, our purification of our existence in this Kali Yuga, it's mentioned, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalau naste eva, naste eva, naste eva, gatiranyatha. That there is no other way, no other way, no other way except Harinam. But is that easy? No, it's not easy. Why? Because the attitude. The attitude of humility is most important, because unless we don't have that humility, which is actually the quality, the ability for us to surrender to Krishna and call out for his help, it is not possible. That is the only way by which we can take the Harinam, and that is what actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants us, that we wear this quality of humility in as a garland. Always we wear this as a garland. What is that garland? Shrinadapi Sunichena, Tarori Vasaishuna, Amani Namanadena, Kirtanaya Sadahari. Only with this attitude that we can actually take the holy name of the Lord. This is what actually is needed. This is what actually is wanted. This is what actually is actually our subject with which we are speaking with. That attitude of humility. Because Maya will actually make you always feel that yes, you have the ability, you have that strength, you have that ability to control every individual. He makes you feel that yes, I have that ability, I can control it. Because unless you cannot control, how can you enjoy? So Maya always makes you feel that yes, you have that ability to control. That is your ability. But no, what our acharyas has said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's that prayer, Gopinath मम निवदिना सुनो विषयी दुर्जना सदा पापे रथा किचु नहीं आरा मोरा गुणा. Ah, what is my qualification? What is my guna? What is my quality? No quality. Full of lust, greed, and anger. I don't have the quality. I don't have that strength. I don't have that ability. So that humility, that supplication is the way by which we can call out to Krishna for help. Because only he can then transcend us from the modes of nature, not otherwise. So that quality of humility is most important. Uh, we see here the same problem, that the second and the third question which Indra has put up, that he thought that why Krishna has stopped my puja, because he is envious of me. He wants to enjoy like that. That is why he stopped. But no, that is not the truth. The truth actually is that the Lord's position is what? Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhurdam sarvade bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Who is the Lord? He is actually the Bhokta. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. He is the beneficiary of all that yagya and tapasya. He is the object of worship of all the karmis and the jnanis for their yagyas and their tapasya. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the supreme proprietor, the very object of worship of all the Ashtanga yogis who are completely meditating the Lord in form of Paramatma everywhere. And he is the one who knows these two things. He is Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Only he can be peaceful. Only he can be happy within himself, not otherwise. And that is why he is addressing the Lord here as Bhagavan. He addressed the Lord here as Bhagavan. Why he addressed the Lord here as Bhagavan? Of course, he is addressing the Lord here as Bhagavan because he has that fear and because of respect, he wants to address the Lord of Bhagavan. But here he wants to address the Lord Bhagavan also because he wants to make us understand that yes, it is the Lord who is arranging some such kind of purification for the benefit of the jiva. And only Bhagavan can do that, because he only knows, as the supreme guru, he only knows how to actually purify the jiva. Which way? Either sometimes he purifies the jiva through punishment, or he may purify the jiva through mercy. Of course, here in further prayers we'll come to know that actually he is begging the Lord that don't purify me by punishment, purify me by mercy. Anyway, I'll stop here. If anybody has any comments or questions, please.
Hare Krishna. The question was raised in your class, why Krishna wants to steal butter and all that. So the answer is, when Lord Vamandev came and then he begged from Bali Maharaj, he felt he got a bad name. Hare, everybody used to say, Hare, the Lord whose hand touches the breasts of Lakshmi, that hand is beneath the hand of Bali Maharaj begging. So then Lord felt, it seems, next time whenever I go, I will not take anything free. So that's why sometimes the gopis, they would call, Lala, come and take butter. And he would say, hey, क्या सोचा है, मैं भिख मंगू है क्या? बटर खिला रही है, माखन खिला रही है, मेरे को नहीं खाना है ऐसा. But he would steal. So Krishna thought, I will, in this incarnation I will work hard for my anything. I will not take anything free. Like that. So if you see the newspapers, every time there is news of either somebody stealing or somebody is having affairs, with illicit sex. So jar buddhi, chor buddhi. So whenever somebody is having more than one wife or something, they will say, Krishna jaisa, Krishna ban gaya, like that. So these two things, then they will say, Hare, Makan Chor, and they will say, like this. So that way, whenever people take his name, so that way they are chanting the name of Krishna. So that is where these two pastimes are very prominent. Chor buddhi and jar buddhi. So that's why, that's how people remember Krishna. Whenever somebody steals, they will say, compare it with Krishna. When somebody is having affair or something, they will compare it. They will take the name of Krishna, like that.
Also, we see that whenever there is a display of lust, greed, and anger, anybody around you cannot be happy. But it's not in the case of Krishna. We see the entire Vrajavasi, the entire land of Vrindavan, it's completely full of bliss. So all his actions are like that. It is actually producing bliss. But it's not like that seen when it is done like that in the material world by the conditioned souls.
हरे कृष्ण. भगवान श्री कृष्ण का जो कार्य है वो दिव्य है. जन्म कर्म च में दिव्यम एवं वेति तत्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहम पुनर्जन्म नैते मामेते सर्वजनम. भगवान बोलते हैं कि मेरा जन्म और कर्म दिव्य है. जो इसे तत्वतः जानते हैं वो शरीर छोड़ने के बाद मेरे धाम को वापस आते हैं, पुनः जन्म लेना नहीं पड़ता है. तो वास्तव में सारी संपत्ति प्रभु की है, कोई वस्तु किसी का है नहीं, भगवान कृष्ण का सब कुछ है. तो अपने भक्तों के साथ लीला करते हैं. उनको चोरी करने की आवश्यकता नहीं थी. उनका गोपियों से प्रेम था और गोपियां खुश होती थी जब उनके घर चोरी करने आते थे. और कभी कभी लाला को बोलते थे, वो छाछ पीना है तो थोड़ा नाच के दिखाओ, आप बहुत अच्छा नाचते हो, आप नटवर हो. तो प्रभु उनके सामने नाचते थे. तो जो दुनिया को नचाने वाले हैं वो अपने भक्तों के प्रेम से उनके वशीभूत होते हैं. ये प्रभु की दिव्य लीला है. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the beautiful class. You are making very nice point that Krishna employs Maya to test us and to make us understand and analyze that where we are lacking so that we can improve. So I was just reflecting that how we can know that we are passing the test. Like we may do our bhakti, but how to check that I am really passing the test? Like we may be chanting and whether I am really honestly struggling or I'm being deceived by the mind. Or when I'm doing seva, I may have that feeling that yes, I am doing seva, but I may have some inner motivation. So how do I check that yes, I am going right?
You said honesty, sincerity. That's the way.
We may
Sincerity.
feel, we may feel that way, but
No, sincerity itself means, no dupliciousness. And that is why we need to scrutinizingly read Shastras and hear from our seniors. Only then we will come to know where we fall, where we lack. Only then will we come to know. It is true. How will we know? So that is how we will come to know. Not otherwise. And once you come to know, then definitely you will know how to progress. So Prabhupada also said that how you when those desires for the low, when those desires of lust, greed and anger, when those desires for acting sinfully, when those are cleared off, then you know that you are spiritually progressing. Yes, Ramru Prabhu has.
When you are hungry and then when you are eating, how do you know that your hunger is fulfilled? Because somebody doesn't have to tell you that so you get nourishment, all that. In the same way, bhakti pareshan bhava virakti ranyatra chesa. So when we are practicing devotional service, bhakti will come, experience pareshan, and then virakti, detachment. So Prabhupada said, how do you know you become Vaishnava? Prabhupada said, Yadavadi mama Krishna padarvindiya. When you get the thought of engaging in sex life, you spit at that thought. That time you are a Vaishnava. Otherwise, practicing.
Yeah, Yadavadi Mother, Chitta Padara Vinde, that Yamunacharya says.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Beautiful class. Prabhuji, this lust is one of the quality which can be used in the service of Lord. Just like I was contemplating on the example of Kubja. He gave the chandan for Lord. That comes in Dasya Bhav, means he is serving in Dasya Bhav. And then he has lust towards Lord. So how these two different bhavas are there?
I didn't got it.
Means initially Kubja wanted to apply the chandan to Lord. So this is the service he is doing to Lord. And as per my understanding, you can correct me. This is comes in Dasya Bhav.
She developed a lusty attraction towards Krishna. She became attracted by seeing, by telling him, "Oh Sundara," like that. And then, when Krishna asked, what are you doing all these things? Then, I apply chandan and all. So Krishna said, "You apply chandan to me," like that. So first it is Shringar Bhav only. So in Shringar Bhav, this das first is, all these 5 rasas are included in this Shringar Bhav. So once after that you serve. So that is not dasya. But anyway, Vishwanath Thakur says that kind of lust we should not develop towards Krishna. Her bhava is not recommended.
There.
Hare Krishna. So you just mentioning the humbleness and pranada visualization. Then I remember one past time here happened in Radha Ras Vihari. In Radha Ras Vihari in the heart, that time His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj used to take the permission every year, like he keep the heart temple, and he got the permission. And the next day, the BMC people and Nair person, that break down the whole temple daytime. And after that, so many things happened, and then they decided to rebuild the temple because permission is already for 1 year, so not need to again get the permission. And by this decision, only 2 days is there, Saturday and Sunday. So, and the next Monday, they have to come the decision of court if that temple may be remain or not remain. So that day, Saturday, somehow by the help of Sethi, they got the material, all the cement, and to repair. Only one night is there, Saturday night, and next day Sunday. Then there is the so heavy rain, like here Indra try to keep the destroy the Brajavasi by the heavy rain. So here Radha Hari temple also, they want to create the rebuild the temple, but in the so heavily rain, they so devotee erected the shed down the above where they the making down rebuilding construction, and top they put the shed, and whole night they arrange the labor and all the devotees working that day. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told Giriraj Maharaj, you have to wake up whole night. You should not go to room or take rest. But he thinking, I should go to take rest, and then only I can to chant in morning nice round. But that time, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj told, this is your humbleness. If you wake up whole night and fight with the gundas, because that night gundas also came and said, who told them, I have gun with 250 rounds bullet. If you have more than 250, then you come only, otherwise not. And so Giriraj Maharaj and Siddhar Maharaj and all the devotees wake whole night and they rebuild the temple, whatever that destroyed. And next day, court decision is that whatever built, it will be remain that only. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very nice. Okay. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री श्री दादा दास बिहारी की जय, समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, जय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।